Hey everyone, welcome to the Testing Trainer YouTube channel. In this session, we are going to discuss decision table testing. Okay, so in previous session, we have discussed a few of the test design techniques, and we have seen equivalence class technique and boundary value analysis. Those two are very important, and there are another two we are going to discuss. One is decision table, and another one is state transition testing. So now, taking the decision table testing. So this is one of an important in some complex requirements, and the requirements are sometimes it will be complex. Then it's a complex business logic and complex rules. Then decision table will be very useful. Okay. So now decision table testing is a black box testing technique used to test a system that exhibits complex business logic or rule-based behavior. As I said earlier, like it's a complex business. Whenever there is a complex logic, we will be using it, and it involves in from the name itself. It says that decision table, so it involves in creating a table that represents all the combinations of inputs and their corresponding outputs based on the rules defined for the system. So you all know what is the input here we are referring. What are the things we are going giving into the system that is considered as input, and that's what we are here. They are referring as an input, and what are the system that is going to throw out either it is an error or it is a valid output. Then we are saying that as an output. Now it starts by beginning the identifying the inputs and outputs of the system that are governed by the rules. Okay, I can read something in the slide, but it's not going to help you. Let's go to the real-time example. Decision table login page. Now you all know about the login page, right? There is an usually a login page is going to have a username and password. Now we are going to we are taking a simple scenario. Okay, so it will be, as I said earlier in previous sessions, it will be very easy to learn if you take simple scenarios. Okay, so let's take a very simple scenario of login. So how the decision table is it's a basically a table. Okay, kind of an Excel table, and it is current it will be divided into two categories: conditions and actions. So what are the conditions we have to write down here, and what are the actions we are going to take should be here. Okay, basically this is a kind of input and this is a kind of output we are expecting. Okay, so now input. Now think about it. Here I'm saying valid, password valid. That means if I say yes, that means I entered valid user ID, and if I say no, I entered invalid password. Okay, because this password valid is no, that means invalid. Okay, so here if how the decision table will be derived. Okay, so we have to use the similar concept of what we use in equivalence partitioning and also in boundary value. It's a kind of a four-step process. Okay, step one: identify the requirement, or read the requirement or analyze the requirement. Now here the requirement says only valid username and valid username and valid password combination should allow user inside the system. Okay, this is a requirement says. Okay, and also requirement, I don't want to draft all the requirement, but I'm saying like if you enter a simple thing, if you enter invalid username and valid password, it will fail. Similarly, if you enter valid username and invalid password, it will fail. Okay, so this is the requirement. Now step two: apply the technique. So what is the technique here using? Decision table. So now write down a table, I mean draw a table. Okay, how will you draw a table? You'll be drawing a table like this. Put table will be categorized into two things: conditions and actions. So instead of drawing a table here, I've just put it into here. Okay, so conditions and actions. So conditions, as I said earlier, just forget about it. Take this column, and a user ID is valid and password is valid. What can happen? Access to the system is yes. And will there be any error message? No, there won't be any error message, because when you enter with a valid user username and valid password, you should be able to access the system and the error should not be displayed, right? So I hope you got this area. Now, these two are negative scenarios. What happens if I enter valid username and invalid password? System access, no. And error, yes, we should display an error. Similarly, vice versa, if it's valid, invalid user ID and valid password, then access to the system is no. And the error will be yes. Okay, so this is for this scenario, we have come up with a decision table. Okay, and now decision table is ready. So now you're asking, okay, Jai, like last time it was very easy to find out the test cases, right? So how are we going to derive the test cases? Follow me, it's going to be very interesting. Now come up with the scenarios. Now what are all the column? There's each column we are going to write one scenario, one test cases. That's it, guys. It's not very, it's not at all very bad. Okay, it not always each column will be, but then here in the situation for this column, we are going to write one test and this one test and this one test. So the first test is going to be valid user ID and invalid password. So I just started some sample test, valid user ID and invalid password. So click login. User should not be able to proceed. Error message should be displayed. Okay, that is the expected result as per the requirement. Okay, now this is vice versa here. So here it's a valid password and invalid user ID. The expected result will be same because this is a invalid test and invalid test. Now this is the valid test. So here we are using a valid user ID and here we are using a valid password. I should be able to log in. Valid test. Now come up with this test cases. With this scenario, which we have a 3 combination, we derived 3 test cases. That's it, guys. Okay, testing is easy and simple, right? Now, important thing is, as I said in this slide, when we will be using the decision tables, whenever there is a complex business logic or rule based behavior, then only we will be using the decision table testing. Now whatever we have discussed here is a very simple logic. Okay, now so but then you can learn it with it. You can learn it, and whenever you see this video in YouTube, you learn it. Okay, you understand it. Now, when you have been given with a complex logic, take this example, okay, understand it, you can apply the same logic in the complex example as well. Okay, the complex example is not going to be a super high rocket science or anything like that. Okay, it will be simple, like, but then like the rules will be a little bit difficult. I will give an example. Okay, now there's a system, okay, that calculate bonus for an employee. So there are 3 criteria that has to be satisfied. First criteria, the bonuses depend upon the salary of the employee. If a person is earning $50,000 per year, then 2% is the bonus of $50,000. Now, we can't directly, that's one criteria. Second criteria, if a person worked more than 5 years, then for him it's going to be 3%. And if the person worked more than 10 years, for him it's going to be 4%. Okay. And if the person worked for 5 years, but then if there is a break in between the job, then we should not consider him for the 5 years. So likewise, there will be complex logic added into it. So in these kind of scenarios, you can be able to draft the decision table very nicely, and then you can test it very easily. You can again the same goal. We are reducing the number of test cases, at the same time we are having the very good coverage. So that is the purpose of having the design techniques. Okay. So that's what decision table is all about. If you have any questions, put down in the comments. I'll just reply back to you all. Thank you.